This is a program about one kind of responsible research innovation. We're going to hear about a project called Hub of All Things. That's a project that started out in a university and is moving into commercialization now. It's a project that's concerned with the control of personal data and platforms for distributing personal data. We'll hear from one of the co-founders of the Hub of All Things about the various experiences they've had in moving HAT toward commercialization. I said this was one kind of responsible research innovation because it's unusual in relation to other projects that we might have chosen. Often in responsible research innovation, one takes a company that's producing a morally neutral product, let's say paper bags. It's producing a morally neutral product, and then the point of responsible research innovation is to introduce constraints in how that product is produced. So we try to get the company to think about the recyclability of paper, if they haven't thought about it already, and various safety considerations in the production of paper bags or whatever it happens to be. In the case of Hub of All Things, we have a different sort of project because the technology that's being introduced is itself morally motivated. In other words, one of the reasons that HAT has come into existence is because there's supposed to be a problem, it's a widely acknowledged problem now, about personal control of one's own data. HAT is a technical solution to the problem of lacking control of one's own data, and one of the interests of the project for us is the question of how far the project is motivated morally. One of the things that's going to emerge about this project, or one of the things I can introduce, is that the approach that we followed to responsible research innovation with HAT was the approach of the embedded ethicist. And our interpretation of this embedded ethicist role is to have frequent contact with a company or a research project, and to raise issues often about different goals they're pursuing or different aspects of their technology in the case of HAT, and to see what the response is. One of the benefits of trying to do this in the case of HAT is that the moral motivation for the work that HAT does, that is the motivation of increasing control over personal data, has come to be owned much more openly by HAT than it was initially. Approaching commercial companies who are potential customers for HAT with the idea that consumers are in greater control of their personal data is sometimes a hard sell, but one of the results of embedded ethics is that HAT is much more comfortable with that kind of sell. And that's an unusual kind of responsible research innovation. Instead of introducing morality, morality is already written into the project, and the point of embedded ethics is to get people to own that moral content in the project. You'll hear from Zhao Ma, one of the co-founders of the HAT project, talking about his experience of responsible research innovation and the embedded ethics approach.
Hello, I'm Xiao. I'm a co-founder of the HAT, short for the Hub of All Things. In short, HAT is a private microserver data account. That means two quite different things for different communities. For individuals, that's dedicated microserver with processing powers. And your HAT is separated from anyone else. It's decentralized, so your data is in a silo of your own server without muddling up with anyone else. For business community, that means an entire infrastructure to be able to host HATs for your customers, being able to give them HATs to store their personal data, being able to make use of those personal data in a very ethnic way, and being able to transact those personal data and provide services by leveraging the richness of the personal data. Working with Prisma, I think the biggest benefits for us is to know that we're not alone. We've been taking on an approach whereby we wanted to represent consumers as much as we can. When we try our best to make our approach as consumer-friendly as possible, business community sometimes find us less attractive in comparison with those ones who can simply gather personal data in a centralized manner. So once we started working with the Prisma community, we felt not alone. We realized there's a whole school of people who are doing similar approach as we do. We're also learning from the community on different ways and best practices of implementing ethical research and innovation.